All right, so today we are going to start solving equations with two steps in it. So this is our first time that we've done this. I'm going to walk you through three or four of these problems. We've been doing everything. We've been solving equations using our maths. This is a little bit different. We're not going to use the maths. This is now the math behind it. And I'm going to show you this step by step, and this works every single time. So what I'm going to do, so I have a little more space, is there's a worksheet. This is the worksheet you're going to do today. I'm going to do the first three or four going down. So I'm just going to take this one and I'm going to rewrite it on a different sheet. So I'm going to rewrite this here. So let's see. So the first problem is 3n minus 5 equals 19. All right. So let's not stress out here. We want to solve for n. We don't want to do guess and check. We want to have this systematic approach or a way that works every single time. So the first thing we do, like I always do, is I always change my opposite of symbol. So this now becomes plus a negative 5. All right. So here's our steps, and these are always our steps. We want to get n all by itself. So we got to think about this equal signs. We talked before about splitting this problem up into two different sides, a left side of our board and the right side of the board, just like we had when we were doing our tiles. So I want to get this n all by myself. So the first thing I do is I get rid of the letter that's on the same side of the equal sign as or I get rid of the number that's on the same side as the letter. So that means this right here. I want to get rid of what's not attached to the letter first. I want to get rid of this negative 5. All right, notice how it's on the same side of the letter, but it's not attached to it. So the first thing I do is I got to figure out, okay, I've got a negative 5. What can I do to get rid of a negative 5? Well, what I could do is I can add a positive side to this, of its positive 5 to this side. Now, remember what I do. If I add a positive side to this side, I have to do the exact same thing the other side. Just like with our tiles, or if I put something on one side, I had to put the exact same thing on the other side. So I'm going to add a positive 5 here and a positive 5 there. Now, look what happens. Right, like this. So here's my equal sign. On the left, positive 5 and negative 5 cancel each other out. On the left, all we have now is 3n, because these are zero pairs. They're gone. Now over here, I have a positive 19 and a positive 5. So I'm going to add them together, and I get a positive 24. Now we're right back to what we did right before spring break, where I've got a multiplication equation. Notice the only thing stopping me from having n all by itself is this 3. So I always undo multiplication with division. So I'm going to divide both sides. And I always divide by the number attached to the letter. So I'm going to divide by 3. If I divide this side by 3, I do the same thing on this side. Now, here's the reason. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so they cancel out. That gives me 1n. There, I have n all by itself. Over here now, 24 divided by 3 is 8. So the solution to this is 8. And you should always check to see if it's right by putting it back up into this original one and see if it works. So if I put an 8 in for n, does that work? Well, 3 times 8 is 24. 24 plus negative 5, yeah, it would be a 19. So that is my answer. So n equals 8. So you might want to write this down somewhere or have this somewhere. The idea that the first thing I always do is I get rid of, if I split this into two different sides, I'm only working on the side that has the letter. I want to get rid of what's not attached to the letter first. I'm getting rid of this negative 5. And I do that by adding its opposite. So I create some zero pairs. So positive 5 and a positive 5. I do the work. I have 3n. And then I'm right back to my multiplication equations that we did before break. I always undo multiplication by division. And I always divide by the number attached to the letter. All right, so that's problem number 1 on our homework. All right, let me see if I can clear this out now. Oh, I can. Now, the next question is O, which is down here. 4x plus 2 equals 14. So now, I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to write down my expression, or my equation. So 4x plus 2 equals 14. All right. So remember, the equal sign splits us up into our two sides, just like we've been using on our mats. I always want to think about the side that has a letter on it. So I'm thinking about this side right here. All right, I get rid of what's not attached to the letter first. So I'm getting rid of this 2 first. So the way I get rid of a positive 2 is I add its opposite, because that's going to give me some 0 pairs. If I add a negative 2 here, I also add a negative 2 there. All right, now we just simplify. On the left, positive 2 and negative 2 gives me a 0 pairs. They're gone. All I have on the left is now 4x. Over here on the right, I have 14 and negative 2. I'm going to subtract, and I get 12. All right, so now, my equal sign. So now 4x equals 12. Well, here's my multiplication equation. I always do the opposite to get rid of it. So I undo multiplication by dividing, and I always divide by the number attached to the letter. So I'm going to divide by a 4. On the left, that gives me 1, because 4 divided by 4 is 1. So I now have 1x. See, I got the x all by itself, which is always my goal. Over here now, 12 divided by 4 is 3. Now, let's plug this back in to make sure this is a good solution. Put a 3 in for x. Well, 4 times 3 is 12. 12 plus 2, yep, it's 14. So that is my answer. I have to see this work on your paper. I got to see these steps. I got to see what you're adding to both sides. I need to see what you're dividing both sides. That's the work that I must see on all of your problems. This is the showing your work that I need to see. All right? And every single one of these are done the exact same way. We always add the opposite of what's not attached to the letter, and then I solve my multiplication equation. All right, let's clear that out. If I do the next one, which is down here, 9y plus 10 equals negative 8. So we're going to write that down. So I have now a negative, 9y plus 10 equals negative 8. All right. So if this was my board, the equal sign splits it into 2 halves. So remember, I always want to think about the side that has a letter on it. So I'm thinking about this left side here. So I want to get rid of what's not attached to the letter first. I want to get rid of this positive 10. I get rid of a positive 10 by adding its opposite. So I add a negative 10. If I have a negative 10 here, I have to do the exact same thing to the other side. And that's why we took so much time on our tiles and our mats, the idea of having legal moves. Whatever I do to one side, I got to do the exact same thing to the other side. All right, so let's kind of clean this up a little bit. On the left, positive 10 and negative 10 gives me a 0 pair. They're gone. All I have now is 9y. On the right, I have a negative 8 and a negative 10, which now gives me a negative 18. So now I have 9y equals negative 18. Well, this is a multiplication equation. I always get rid of multiplication by dividing, and I always divide by the number attached to the letter. So I'm going to divide both sides by a 9. Notice we do the exact same thing every time. Remember, this is the work that I have to see. So now let's just clean stuff up. 9 divided by 9 is 1. So I get 1y. All right. We could put the 1 there if we want, but we don't need to. It's just knowing that it's there. So we got y all by itself, because 9 divided by 9 is 1. Over here, negative 18 divided by 9. Well, 18 divided by 9 is 2. Remember, when I divide, when the signs are different, it's a negative. So y equals negative 2. Now, remember, let's plug this back in to make sure this is a solution. So when I put a negative 2 in for y, 9 times negative 2 is a negative 18. Negative 18 plus positive 10, yep, it's a negative 8. So that I know is the correct solution. All right, let's do one more. And I want to do one that looks a little bit different. I want to do P over here. Okay, I want to do this one right here because I want to show you what happens when things are on the other side. So we're going to do P. So P is negative 7 equals 2n plus 19. All right, so it looks a little different. We're going to do it the exact same way. Now notice my equal sign splits it in 2 halves. I've got a left side and a right side. Now remember how I said we always want to work on the side that has a letter on it. So this is the side that I'm working on this time, on the right-hand side, because this is where my letter is. We always get rid of what's not attached to letter first. So I want to get rid of this positive 19 first. I get rid of adding 19 by doing its opposite. I'm going to add a negative 19 because that gives me a zero pair. Whatever I do to this side, I do the exact same thing to this side. All right, this is the work that we got to see. All right, I'm going to put down my equal sign. On the left-hand side, negative 17 and negative 19 is going to give me a negative 26. Over here, positive 19 and negative 19 are my zero pairs, so they're gone. All I have on the right-hand side is now a 2n. So notice I did the exact same thing. It's just they were switched the sides. That's why we always have to work on the side that has the letter on it. So we're working on that right-hand side. All right, let's see. So here I have a multiplication equation. Multiplication is holding this letter and number together. I got to break that apart by doing its opposite, which is division. And I always divide by the number attached to the letter. So I'm going to divide by 2 because that way these cancel out. If I divide this side by 2, I divide that side by 2. On the right, 2 divided by 2 is 1n. On the left, 26 divided by 2 is 13. The signs are different, so it's a negative 13. Now, if I plug this back in, I want to make sure this is right. So I got to plug that negative 13 in. So I'm going to put it right up here with this n. So 2 times negative 13 is a negative 26 plus 19. Well, when I subtract, I end up with 7, and it's negative 7. So yeah, that is the right answer because I want it to equal negative 7. So every single problem that you do today, all right, because they look just like this, are all done the exact same way. Make sure we're checking our answers up here. Make sure that we are showing our work. We're showing what type of number we're adding to both sides to create our zero pairs. Then we're undoing this multiplication by dividing by the number attached to the letter. I've got to see this work. And if you get used to this, this works every single time. So now we're solving equations without having the tiles in front of us. All right. So hopefully this helps you. When you are finished with this, you've done all the problems on the worksheet, which I'll send to your email so you have it. Take a picture of it and then send that in to me. Hopefully that helps. If you have questions, make sure you email me. Thank you.